Sorry, I'm talking and I'm muted. So I'm going to go ahead and start the recording again. So this will all be recorded. I want to welcome everybody to the registration and student scheduling training with NKU Advising Leads and Norse Advising. I think that Rebecca was scheduled to start us out. Is that correct, Frank?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for having us today.
Yeah, we're glad you're here.
Yes, welcome everybody. Frank, I didn't know, are you sharing the PowerPoint?
I think Anna will be actually sharing that if that's okay. I think we're all co-hosts too. So.
Yes, I can go ahead. Are you ready, Rebecca? You want me to go ahead?
Yes, that's fine. Yep, we can go ahead and get started.
All right, hold on. I have it pulled up here. Let's make sure. Sorry, my stuff's being a little wonky today. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to share it. And then let's make sure everybody can see it.
I can see it. Thank you, Anna.
Can we see it? Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect.
So yeah, thank you all for being here. My name is Rebecca Ham. I am the Assistant Dean in the College of Informatics serving undergraduate students. And we're going to spend some time talking about advising and helping students navigate the relationship with their advisors, what they can expect from us, what we expect from students, and a little bit about the registration as well. So if we advance to the next slide.
Did it change?
It did not change. I can see the slides on your side panel.
Oh, this always happens.
And now I see email.
All right. Sorry. Let's see. What about now?
I can see the second slide, yes.
Okay. All right. Perfect.
Thank you. So all undergraduates at NKU are assigned an advisor. They can find their advisor assignment on My NKU, or it may be listed as a unit, and that a student could find then that person potentially on the website for who their advisor would be. NKU has a mixed model of advising. So if you're working with students, one student shares their experience might look a little bit different than the next student. It really just depends most of the time upon the student's major selection for how their advisor is assigned. But NKU's mixed model includes some faculty advisors as well as professional staff and faculty advisors. And the difference there being some of the professional staff and faculty advisors would work with a student incoming all the way through to graduation. And some of the faculty advisors might be an appropriate contact that a student is handed off to in their second or third year, embedded within an academic department. All of the colleges have advising centers, as well as for our students who are undecided about their major, they have the Norse Advising Center to be directed to. Listed on this slide, you'll see the Advising Center directors. We call ourselves the lead advisors in each unit. You'll be hearing from each of these folks today, or a representative from these units. So rather than pause here, we'll just let folks introduce themselves along the way as they take over for various presentation points. But these would be great contacts if you have questions and you're just not sure where to send a student, or you're not sure who their specific advisor is or how to help them find that person. The advising lead for each unit can pretty much help direct the student to the resources that they might need. Next slide, please.
I don't know why it's not doing what I want it to do. Every time. I'm telling you what.
It's up now, thank you.
Okay, I just have to keep it like this. I was trying to make it the whole screen and I think that's throwing me off.
All right, so why advising is important. You'll notice on this slide, off the portion, academic advisors. So we are academic advisors. We do advise students based on their academic plan, but we also just refer to ourselves as advisors. So we are here to help students navigate the university system, help them navigate any questions that they might have along the way, including those academic plan questions. Something about advisors at NKU, we like to say we're pretty well connected on campus. So if students aren't sure where to go, sometimes it's not us who can answer those questions. It might be a scholarship question or a financial aid question. We do encourage students still come to us. We can connect them with the appropriate resource if they do have those questions. We are mostly housed within academic affairs. So we are the front lines for our academic programs, helping students understand the requirements of the major and program that they've selected and the degree requirements and how to complete those degree requirements. We also talk with students how their plans fit into career plans. And so we encourage students to develop themselves beyond just which classes should I take this semester, but more holistically, how do you get engaged on campus? How do you develop as a professional? Those internship co-op experiences, research experiences. So really thinking about future plans and career goals as well. In advising, we use a lot of complex systems. So we are found on Navigate, we are on NKU, we have things in perceptive content, SAP, we talk about academic plan, degree audit. So there's a lot of different tools that we're using. And again, some of this might look slightly different unit to unit. So some students might reference a specific tool and we can help students learn how to use that tool to their advantage. Next slide, please. So advising timeline and cycle, just a few things to know when we're working with students. The cycle of academic advising does not match the curriculum process. And so what I mean by that is our faculty and departments are making decisions about curriculum, things that might change in the upcoming year. And often some of these changes we find out about after we've already advised a student for that next semester. And so that's just some of the complexity with the advising timeline. That's why we encourage students to connect with us at least once every semester, just because sometimes we're finding out changing and evolving information and we can help track that with students. The more frequently that they're working with us, the more in the know they will tend to be. Advising season happens really early. So a lot of times students are just starting their classes in the fall semester and just figuring things out if they're new on campus or even if they're returning. And we actually encourage students to come and see advising as early as September to start planning for the spring semester. So students will register for classes at the end of October, early November for the spring semester. And in order to meet with a lot of students prior to those dates, we encourage advising appointments to begin as early as September. Likewise, for the spring semester, we encourage students to begin talking to us in February as they're making their summer and fall plans. A catalog that is available on any NKU website under quick links. The undergraduate catalog outlines the program requirements, procedures, anything academic related with the university. We encourage students to bookmark that website and to know how to reference the catalog for some of those common questions. But the important thing here is, and again, this varies depending on the student you might be working with, is a student's academic catalog matches the year they became degree seeking at NKU. For all the new students who are starting this fall semester, their academic catalog will be 2021. So they will follow the program requirements of the 2021 academic catalog, which could look different than their peers who maybe started last fall or their peers who are starting in fall of 22. So those program requirements could be different. So sometimes when students talk to each other or advise each other among peers, that's why there might be some different information because they're working off of different catalog years. So yeah, I think that's most of what I wanted to share here. Planning in advance and encouraging students to connect with us early and often. And then I will pass it over to Frank Robinson to talk a little bit about students preparing for their advising appointments.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. One of our colleges that wasn't maybe on that first slide was just the Honors College. So David Keim is our main advisor over there, and he's actually on this call. So he'll be monitoring the chat today. So as we continue, if you do have questions along the way, please feel free to to let us know in the chat as well. So I want to transition us. I know one of the things that we wanted to discuss was just kind of how to help prepare students for an advising appointment. We know that student affairs individuals may also get questions about, the basics around setting up an appointment or how do I register. So we'll kind of start jumping into those areas. So on the next slide. I think it helps just to kind of get a context of exactly like what's expected of the students and what do the advisors do. And a lot of times there's a misconception, I think sometimes that advisors just plan classes, but we're doing a lot of different things with the students when we meet with them. We might be talking about the major and the careers that might go with that. What are some of the things I can do with this particular degree program? We might be developing an academic plan. Rebecca mentioned that. So this is where we can we have one of the software tools that we use is a way that we can map out literally a 4-year kind of structured degree plan for an individual student to map out kind of their time frame out. Students can make appointments to do that. Sometimes it's good to do that separately from their regular advising appointment because it can take some time to map things out. But developing a plan is one of the help can help kind of map them for the future. We definitely understand policies and procedures. These update quite often at the university. So a lot of times advisors are trying to stay up with the latest. It might be something like a test, test requirement. What's the test ACT score you need to get into a particular course or into the university? Some of our policies and procedures change from year to year. So we try to keep up with that in order to make sure that students are kind of familiar with any changes that might impact them. And then we also are familiar with campus resources, so we certainly will refer them to many of your offices as well as to other resources on campus. Rebecca hinted at that with things like financial aid, career services, and some of those other areas. And then we also help with success skills, like, what are some tactics that you can use with working with professors in your classes? What are some things you need to know about the upcoming schedule you're about to register for? Are these classes more rigorous that you need to spend more time on? So we might go over some success skills that can help them. And then finally, academic help and support. This is one that I think is really good to kind of bring up here, especially this is an area I think a lot of the students actually don't necessarily always take advantage of. They may not always think to reach out to their academic advisor to get help, and we can provide assistance and help at any point during the semester, even if it's beyond the last day to withdraw. So I really just would encourage all of the individuals on the call today that if you have a student and they seem to be struggling with their courses or they need academic help, kind of just encourage them sometimes not to be afraid to reach out for that help, because a lot of times students naturally think they can kind of face these challenges themselves and they don't always take advantage of their advisor at various points in the semester. So definitely, that's an area that I think, students definitely could use us more. And then finally, some students do have requirements to meet with their advisor, students on probation or warning. So there may be students with advising holds that may have a certain status in order for us to make sure that we're meeting with them to help them stay on track or to make sure that they're on target. Thanks. And one of the things I think is that also important is that students, when they come in, we are here to assist them and to guide them, but really ultimately the responsibility is on the student to really be responsible for their education. So we want students to really be active participants in this process. Oftentimes we really encourage them to prepare for academic advising meetings, whether that's something as simple as putting classes in your cart before you meet with your advisor. We'll talk about the cart in a minute, the registration cart, or whether that's them looking up their degree requirements or getting an understanding of those. We want to make sure that students are really feeling the self-ownership in terms of understanding their academic records. And so we guide them on kind of, helping them to understand those things. And really, it even starts as early as new student orientation that's happening right now this summer with incoming students, that we really go over the general education requirements or foundation of knowledge is what that's called, or we really start to go over their major or minor classes with them. But the goal is really to get them to be able to self-guide themselves on these topics. And so the more that the students can learn about the resources on campus, and being able to be these participants that are active, it helps us to be able to help that academic success process. Next slide. Thank you. So there are other offices that also provide academic support to students. And so I wanted to highlight just a few of those because I know this can sometimes be a confusion point too of where do we send them. So we have one of the offices is ALPS, or Adult Learner Programs and Services. And Kim and Sarah are two advisors there, and they basically work with adult students in terms of a lot of the different resources that might be available to them, helping them to navigate. I also think about like Donovan Scholars, and these are students who are maybe over age 65 that are coming back to campus. So there's a lot of different populations that they help, maybe adult students who have family needs and other issues. So that office can be very supportive to an adult student who may be at non-traditional age. We have UCAP, University Connect and Persist. Students can be referred to this office if they are really in academic trouble. If you're aware of a student who's not been attending classes, or they're maybe facing a lot of personal challenges as well as academic challenges, this could be a really great office to refer them to. We have some students who are coming in through Student Support Services. This is a program that's grant funded in TRIO. It's a grant funded program. Lori Wright is the director for this office, and this office helps to support, and they really are assigned to students who are really at high risk to kind of work with them throughout the semester. So they do identifying reach outs to identify that population of students, and they work with them. And a lot of times in our system, these students will be labeled so that we can tell that they are part of that program. We also have Learning Plus, which is a center on campus that provides writing assistance, tutoring assistance, study skill assistance. Diane Williams is the director over this area. And so a lot of our students will definitely take advantage of these resources, especially things like tutoring if they're struggling in classes or if they need help with writing skills. So this could be a great office to refer students to if they are really struggling academically and just need more of that practical class course support. We also have athletic advisors who are on campus who do work with our student athletes. One of the functions that they also do in partnership with us is thinking about NCAA compliance. The NCAA has a lot of rules around our student athletes, including a certain percentage to degree that they need to be completing. And so our athletic advisors help to make sure that those students are on track for those compliance reasons. And they also partner with us a lot in terms of just, us identifying those student athletes and making sure that we are aware of their practice schedule so that we can schedule around those needs throughout the semester. We also have the Office of First Year Programs who works with our first year students. Our University 101 class is really especially utilized by our undecided students, but it also is great for many first year students. I want to just put a caveat here that some academic majors and programs do have their own introductory courses. For example, there's a Business 101 class. Informatics has an introductory course, and so does education. So there are certain courses that advisors may recommend as that first starting course. But one of the things that these courses have in common is our common experience, which is a theme that's centered around a specific topic that all of our students are kind of doing activities or reading about different articles or doing different experiences related to that. I think this fall it's around democracy is kind of the theme for this fall. So they're working with our political science faculty right now on that. And then finally, career services that does our job fairs, resume skills, soft skills. So our students, in terms of seeking that job after they graduate, we certainly refer them for that support and assistance. This slide may be really helpful just to give a basic idea of what all NKU students at the university have to do in order to graduate. So this is a really just kind of nice visual in terms of the pyramid. So you can see that all of the students' requirements are really made up of four kind of key areas: the foundations of knowledge of their general education courses, the classes in their major, which obviously the number of those hours may vary on the major. The area of secondary of study or minor, all students have to have some sort of secondary area of study. In some cases, that's actually also included with the major automatically. In other cases, students get to select what that minor is or that secondary area. So this may be very unique or specific to that student in that program. And then finally, there's a little bit of room for, in many cases, for a few electives. How much room may vary, again, depending on the size of the major. So that is something that is good to check with an advisor. But electives are just basically general courses that students get to select or choose in order to round out their education. And on the right, you can see the main requirements. So all students have to have a minimum of at least 120 hours to graduate. A student could be above that. For example, a transfer student might transfer in with additional hours, but that's the minimum number. And then of those 120, 45 credits or 15 classes have to be at the 300 or 400 level. Many of these are junior and senior level classes, and in many cases, these might be included in the major, but it may be such that students may need a couple of additional classes there, so that can also vary. But 15 classes at the junior and senior level. A fourth of those credits have to be completed of the 120 at NKU. Most students tend to not have too much of an issue with that one. And then the final 10 courses, or your last 30 credits, need to be done at NKU. That's just to make sure that we are not just giving away a diploma with 1 or 2 classes and that students are really earning a degree from us. And then finally, the minimum GPA is a 2.0 overall in the major, a 2.0 in the minor, and the 2.0 overall. But that's a C average, and I will just really put a quick note here that that is the minimum to graduate, but that may not be the correct GPA that a student needs to successfully complete their program. Some of our programs have certain GPA requirements just to go from a pre-major status to a full major, or to simply just complete the program. So again, it's something that's really important to make sure that students are checking with their advisor on that. But minimally, these are the minimum standards for graduation. So thank you for that, and I will turn things over to Amy Racky.
Thank you. So the next thing we want to talk about is how to schedule an advising appointment. So there are actually 2 different ways that students can schedule an appointment. During peak advising seasons, we as advisors send out digital campaigns through Navigate, in which the student can literally click on the email and then it'll allow them to schedule an appointment. But there's also another way that students can schedule, and that's through My NKU. So if they go to My NKU and go to the student self-service tab, they can go down to the section that says academics, which is at the bottom, and click on NKU Navigate. And then that will allow them to open up the NKU Navigate, which they can schedule an appointment. Now, the only caveat with that, if they don't have an assigned advisor, they won't be able to use NKU Navigate to schedule an appointment. But most of the time we try to get those advisors assigned by the first week of classes, so that the student has a way to contact their advisor outside of the campaigns. So when you get to the NKU Navigate, this is what the student kind of sees. They will see their name. Sorry, I have to look at it a little bigger. So they will be able to select a date, and they will see all the availability in which they're, thank you, Anna. They'll be able to see all the availabilities in which their instructor is registered or available. And then it also has a mechanism in which it will not allow the students to schedule an appointment if the student is booked in a class as well. So it only looks for those availabilities that are open for both the advisor and the student. And then it's going to ask a series of questions. So it's going to ask what type of appointment would you want? And it'll ask what kind of service. So there's going to be a variety of services like success workshops, or it could be changing a major, so changing a program, or maybe the student is on probation or warning and wants to talk about that. So they can pick their service so the advisor has some idea of what the service is all about. And then it looks for times, and then the student can select the times. So we have a variety of different options for appointments. Like we said, we can do now in-person appointments, in-person, face-to-face. We can do the virtual or Zoom appointments, which has been great for us with the pandemic. It's been a game changer, I think, for a lot of our students. We've done students by phone, with or without a computer in front of them, email, and then we have, of course, drop-in. So we have all different ways to see students. And a lot of times during the first week of classes and maybe the week of finals, we have drop-ins. So we are just available to see those students. And Julie Bridewell asked if the Zoom options will remain post-COVID. I think we've kind of decided they will. I know it's worked a lot. It's worked great with our students, and it's really meeting our students where they are. So I'm not sure, because we've kind of got off target, who's supposed to speak next.
I think Alina's on the call.
Okay. Is this where Alina's supposed to start?
I think it's the slide after this one.
Okay. All right. I'll keep going then. So there is a registration checklist that our students we've been referring our students to. It's on the registrar's webpage. So they can click on this and they can go through the different topics. So it'll say, visit the sites. That's where you are, which is great. Then it'll say, check your admission status. So these are for students who maybe just applied to NKU, or even the students who are current students, because we want to be sure that there's nothing wrong admissions wise. Then it says meet with your academic advisors. So they can click on that and it's going to say how to get to make that appointment. Then determine your registration date. So every student has a specific date of when they can register. That's called the priority registration schedule. So it's based on the number of hours a student has earned here at NKU. And then the rest is just kind of checking in holds, and as once they get through the whole process, then they'll eventually meet with their advisor and be able to register for classes. So it's a nice kind of checklist to be sure everybody's on the same page.
Hey, my apologies. I realized I talked a little too long on my slides. So Alina, I think you're up, and then Anna, I just sent you a message. Sorry about that.
Hey everybody, fun learning about advising. We have a lot to share. So another very important part that students want to know about, or that's I would say, if I'm not mistaken, it's #1 question that all students ask. When can I register? We hear this question every single semester. So when can you register? That depends. And it usually depends on the credit hours that the student has earned. Our Office of the Registrar has provided us updated kind of version or updated table of when students can register. And you can see here, it's all broken down by the credit hours. We do have certain populations at NKU that register during super priority registration. So to make it a little bit more complicated, we have to keep track of those students too. And usually those populations do know when they can register, and it's usually a day before priority registration begins. So just the fact that a student can see their date and it seems like they can register, it doesn't mean that they actually can register. Just because registration opens up doesn't mean that they can register. That's what I'm trying to say here. But before we go to the next slide, you can see there's a link right there at the bottom. You can go on the registrar's website and see. I usually actually print it out or save it somewhere on my desktop for me to refer to it, because we use it, well, I use it every single day during super priority and priority registration. So coming back to super priority, there are several populations. It's honor students who register before everybody else, athletes, student support services, and we have a HAIL ambassador organization, presidential ambassadors, and I think that's all. Let me know if I'm missing any population. But usually those students know when they can register, usually the super priority ones. So I think I covered everything about registration or priority registration. Now we're gonna go ahead and talk about the holds a little bit. Next slide, please, Anna. Thank you. So holds. So again, just the fact that a student is listed as registering whatever tomorrow doesn't mean that they actually can register if they have a hold on their account. There are dozens and dozens of different types of holds, but there are two holds that are very common, I would say the most common out of all of them. First one, unfortunately, is a balance hold. So if a student owes more than $100, they cannot proceed in registration. They have to first decrease their balance to less than $100, and only then they will be able to register. And second type of hold is the advising hold. And also advising holds, they're divided into many different types of holds. So one of them would be just regular advising. A student must see an advisor. By the way, not all students at NKU are required to see an advisor every single semester. So if a student forgoes seeing an advisor and then tries to register for their classes, they may come into or meet problems, right? Just because they may not be able to register for classes, maybe they don't even know what kind of classes they need to have. So even though a student is not required to see an advisor, we strongly recommend them to meet with one at least every single semester, because then mistakes happen, and it's just not a good idea to miss your meeting with advisor, even if a student doesn't need it. So the other types of holds are academic success workshop. Those students who have a GPA lower than 2.0, they have to go through academic success workshop. I think all the colleges have this set up. Then we have, again, balance, library, advising, change of major, very common hold. And I think, well, student conduct hold. And if you are not sure what the hold is about, because once in a while I come across a hold that I've never seen before, which doesn't happen very often, but still it can happen, then of course recommend the student to reach out to the advisor. And just like, Amy was talking about, logging into my NKU and making an appointment, students can use the same portal to check on their holds. They click on holds, they will be able to see where the hold is coming from. If they have multiple holds, not very uncommon for a student to have 2-3 holds. And of course, they can always reach out to the advisor to get a little bit more explanation, because usually it's abbreviated. And another reason to meet with advisor would be to learn the lingo of NKU, because we know what electives are, but different departments, different students refer to electives differently, or priority registration. What is that? So we also need to teach them the lingo, and the more they meet with advisor, the more they know about that. So you can see here, those are sometimes, does everybody understand what UG credential hold means? Well, I'm just going to explain it to you. So UG is undergraduate credential hold. So it means that we are missing some kind of transcript from a student, a final transcript with maybe a final degree posted on it. Maybe they provided us on a official but not final transcript with some classes listed as in progress. So NKU has to have a finalized transcript with all the classes listed with the grades. Or if a student didn't finish the semester, we also need to see that. And orientation hold, very common. So and we usually refer to them to orientation. There is a way for students to not participate in in-person orientation. They just can go through the virtual one. I think I covered everything here. Next slide, please. There we go. It's very highly recommended for students to download, NKU app, because they will be able to register for classes. It's just a really cool, useful app. Of course, they can go on the browser and register for classes and look up all the information there, because it's going to look kind of sort of similar to what you're seeing in front of you. All the tiles are going to be there, but it will be on the screen. And so again, they will need to log into my NKU to register for classes. So let's say they want to figure out what they want to register for. They want to look at the schedule. They want to look at their holds. This is the first step. They need to log into my NKU, then go to the holds, or go to, is it on class schedule? They can go to class schedule, but really for registration, they need to go to online registration, and then it's going to take them to the registration portal. We do not register students as advisors unless a student gave us explicit permission to register for classes, to register them for classes. And that's all connected to financial obligations. There was a long discussion about that, but the reason basically why we as advisors do not register students, because we have to agree to their financial obligations. And of course, it can bring legal consequences that NKU does not necessarily want to deal with. And I think that's my part, but I can continue if you would like me to. Is it me or is it Anna?
Anna. Mm-hmm.
I think it's me. Okay, so hi everybody, I'm Anna Stryker. I think we're going to introduce ourselves as we went. I am the director in the College of Education Advising Center. So I'm going to do the next 2 slides, I think, which is a little bit more about registration, but this is actually a snapshot of what the student sees inside the registration portal. So once they have looked at their holds, they hopefully know what their registration window is, and they're ready to actually go into the registration system. This is what it's going to look like for them. So there's a couple of really important pieces of information that the students can get in here, aside from just registering for classes. So right up at the top right-hand corner, you'll notice that there is a little spot that tells them if they have a hold. This is really important because sometimes students, just like what we talked about before, students may or may not recognize that they have a hold. And so this little red exclamation point should alert them that they have a hold, and they can actually click on that and it will tell them exactly what the hold is. And they can even expand it further and it'll tell them who's in charge of the hold so that they know what to do with that hold in particular. Then below it does have their registration window. So it does tell them this is the exact day and time that their registration opens. So that's a really nice feature. So hopefully they're looking at that. Over here, so one of the very first things that students have to do when they go into this online registration portal is they have to pick the term that they're going to register for. So there's usually typically about 3 terms in there at a time. If it's a current term that they can register for, that term is there for adding current classes, moving things around if needed. But then there's also usually the next upcoming term and then potentially the term after that. So right now, like if a student were to go in today, they would see the summer term and then they would see the fall term. And so they have to pick the term in particular that they want to register for. That's specifically important for students who are registering for summer classes. They need to make sure that they pick the summer term when they're doing that. Down here under the search bar is essentially where they will look for all of the classes that they are interested in adding. Once a student searches for a class, it will bring up all of the different section options. What's really important when they're searching is the prefix for a course typically always has 3 letters, a space, and then the number. However, if it is a course that has 4 letters, then there is no space in between the numbers and the letters. That's a little bit confusing, but the key to remember is that this search bar literally only has space for 7 characters, and it considers a space to be a character. That's what I tell my students all the time. So if it has 4 letters, there's no space, 3 letters, there is. So that's, sometimes you'll find students are looking for things like CMST 101 and they'll tell you it's not there. And it's because they are putting the space and it's not finding it. When a student searches for a course, there will be all of the sections should come up for that course. There's a lot of information on here. When a student is looking at these, it goes through the course number, the individual sections, the number of credits, the type of delivery, which is really important. If it is in person, it is typically lecture, there is hybrid, there's online, there's lots of different options. The dates in the middle are actually really important as well, because these are going to tell the students, is this a full semester class or is it a half semester class? And students can sometimes unexpectedly or unintentionally sign up for something that is 7 weeks if they're not kind of looking at those middle dates there. The location, the campus is very important as well. Highland Heights obviously is on campus. We do offer some courses at Grant County, at the Grant County Center. So occasionally students will see, specifically some gen eds that see Grant County there. We have had students who, again, unintentionally sign up to take a class at Grant County and don't realize that they've done that. So they need to also pay attention to that campus. The room is on here, and then the schedule, which is the days and times that these are available. At the side, there's also right here, there's also open seats. This is important. It tells a student if this particular section is full or if it actually does have space available in it. That's a really important one as well, because sometimes we get students who want a particular section and it's full, and then they've got to go and look for something for another section that has seats in it. the little arrow right here all the way at the end. This is once they have decided that this is the section they want, it meets the requirements that they're interested in, they can click on that little arrow and a box pops out that gives them two options. One that is add to cart and one that is register. If it is before their registration window opens, so just like Frank was talking about in terms of preparing for that advising meeting, we ask that the students try to go in, they search, they look for classes, and we ask them to put things in their cart so that we can have a directed conversation as part of advising. And that is that first option. So it literally takes it from here and it throws it into this box right there. We explain to the students that this box, this cart is essentially like your Amazon shopping cart. You're putting things in it that you're interested in, you're still thinking about it, you're making changes potentially, but you've not purchased it. It's not registered yet. The other thing that's important to know about the cart is the cart does not save your seat in that particular section. A course can fill while it sits in their cart. So that's an important thing. Once students have something in their cart that they are then interested in actually registering for, they'll be able to do that right from there and it will move it to the other side. And so the next slide is actually talking about a little bit about the advanced search. So this search here is if you're looking for, basically you're just kind of looking for a particular class, you want to look at all the different sections that might be available, but there is an advanced option when you're looking, and the advanced search over here will actually allow a student to search by a particular type of delivery. If they're looking for something that is online, they're looking for something specifically that's on campus. If they are also, they can also filter by session. So if they actually want something that is 7 weeks, we often have students who actually need to add a second 7 weeks class for credit hour purposes. Perhaps they had to drop something in the first 7 weeks and they need to make it up in the second 7 weeks. And so there is a way through this advanced search that they can specifically look for courses that are offered in that second 7 weeks. You can look for a number of credit hours. So sometimes students they only need 1 credit hour. And so they're looking for classes that are 1 credit hour. You can search for that for here. You can also search by campus. So if somebody wanted to take something at Grant County, we have occasionally had students who actually are at Grant County. They want to take all their classes at Grant County for that first semester if possible. So they can actually look for all the courses that are available at Grant County. Same thing with instructor and specifically days of the week as well. So that advanced search is a really nice option for students if they're looking for something pretty specific. The other thing I want to point out is over here, if a student, let's say a student searches for a class and they find it, but they don't know anything about this class, right? Their advisor told them that they needed to look for CMST 101 and they don't even know what it is. There's this little icon next to each course in each section. And if a student clicks on it or hovers over it, a box will pop out. And the box actually gives a course description. It will also give some details about all of that stuff that's on here as well to tell them again, the instructor, it will tell them the dates, it will tell them the times, all of that stuff. But what's really nice is that this box will give them the course description and also it will tell them if there are prerequisites required. So under this requirements little link right there, if they click on that, it will tell them what's required in order to take the class. So that is a really nice, important thing that we try to explain to all of our students when we're telling them about the registration process. All right, I think Amy.
Yeah, so I didn't do this before because I was confused about where I was starting, but my name is Amy Racky and I'm the Assistant Dean in the College of Arts and Sciences and the Director of the College of Arts and Sciences Advising Center. So I forgot to do that before. So if you need to get a hold of me, please reach out. But I just want to talk about sample schedules. So Anna talked about how to register for classes, but what we usually do is once they register for classes, we always tell them to go to their schedule of classes or my class schedule. And there's 2 ways they can do this. They can do this through my NKU, but they also can do this through the NKU app. And the NKU app's great because it's something that it's on their phone and they can just visually see their schedule. But if you look at the schedule, this tells them, you know, what their course is, the title of the course, if it's a lecture or it's a lab component, the days of the week. And for our freshmen, this is really important because a lot of them look at TR and think it's a Thursday only class. So TR is for us is Tuesday, Thursday. MWF is Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So it's important for them to look to know when their classes are. Anna was talking about Grant County. So if a course came up in Grant County, this is where you would see it. This particular student has basically 3 classes that are face-to-face and 2 classes that are online. And then we always try to look at those dates to be sure that the dates are what the student has registered for. And then the last column is the credit hour. So if we look at the next example, so the next example shows the same thing, shows the same thing. You know, we have the days and we have the special topics and web-based classes and online. But notice this last online class, this runs from October 20th to December 10th. So this is a second 7-week class. So this student would not even start taking this class till October 20th. All the rest of the students' classes are full semester classes. So this is important to be sure that the student remembers that they need to go to that class in October. Some other helpful things that we refer students to, one is there is a syllabus bank that students can access. And the website is right here to access it. You can access it, you can put in the course you're looking for, and it's going to bring up syllabi of different instructors who have taught that course. So you can have the student kind of read about what's the expectations by the instructor of that course before they even like get into the course altogether. Some tips and goals, just kind of general. One is we always strive to tell our students to earn the A's and B's as much as possible. GPA is really a key to success. So students who are just on the verge of doing C's every semester, they have one semester where they may have a bad semester and that will take their GPA below a 2.0, which they could lose a lot of things like financial aid. So we really want to strive for them to get the highest GPA as possible. GPA, you know, we want students to get involved as much as possible. So Greek life, intramural sports, service learning. So there's lots of things for our students to get involved in. We're talking about, you know, their major. So if they're freshmen, we're talking about, you know, are you thinking about a major if they're undeclared? A lot of them will be declared. So we're talking about, is this major a fit for you? If they're in the honors program, we're talking about, you know, how's your honors? Dave works really well with the honors students in general, but there is a program with honors. And then also, what does it take to graduate with honors? That's a specific GPA. Some students will work to graduate early. So they may be taking summer classes or taking overload if their GPA requires it, so they can register a little earlier than the 4 years. Some tips for a successful college career. I think make those friends in classes. We always tell our students, and do some studying together, because if you can teach somebody the material, then you know the material. We tell the students to ask questions before and after class. And I know some students are shy, but making those connections with their instructors is important. Take notes, review the notes before class, review the notes after class. I was a student that had to rewrite all my notes, so that always helped me, but just be prepared to take the notes. Just don't sit there and be an inactive participant. Participate in class. If there's class discussion, raise your hand, get involved in class. That all helps with understanding the material. We talked about Learning Plus with the learning assistants, which is the different types of tutoring. We have a great writing center, and we have tutoring that's free, which is something that our students, I don't think, utilize enough. So we always encourage them to utilize those free resources. And then just reach out to your professor. A lot of professors have all these office hours that nobody comes to, and encourage them to go talk to their professors. None of the professors are going to bite them or do anything to hurt them. We're all here to help with their success. So we encourage all our students to reach out to professors as much as possible. So with that said, are there any questions?
I wanted to also mention something I forgot to mention earlier that is a common question about undecided and undeclared. I know there's been some confusion around that too. So Norse Advising works with, and now today we have exploratory students. So exploratory really means that they're truly undecided. But if you see undecided or exploratory, that is definitely us. Undeclared gets a little more tricky, but Norse Advising sees undeclared students who are really in a position where they are literally unable to declare their major yet, just maybe due to the admission requirements for that program. Some majors require a certain GPA, or they might require certain standards before a student can enter into that program. So we do have some undeclared students that way. But a student can also be undeclared in the sense of, hey, I know what college that I want to be in. I just may not know what major I want in that college. And those students are advised by their college advisor in the colleges directly. So if you ever get a student and you're confused or you're not sure, that may be a way to clarify the difference there. Are you really undecided, or you know exactly what you want college-wise, but maybe not sure what major? And that may be a good way to direct a student to the right person. But if you're confused as well, an easy way is you can always refer them straight to Norse Advising, and we can help make sure that we can connect them with the appropriate advisor on campus as well.
Were there any other questions? No. It's difficult when everybody's all like not on the screen, right? A couple times I had to get off, sorry. Thank you so much for coming and doing this today. We really appreciate it. And the session was recorded, and the chat was recorded as well. So I've saved that. David Berland is still working for us right now. He's moving in the process of starting his new position, but he's going to be doing some work, and he'll be taking the recording and editing it, and then he will be posting it to the Student Affairs website. There's a spot on there for all that. So if anybody has any questions or anything, they can find it there. And then of course, now we know who to reach out to if there's questions. So thank you very much for coming today.
No problem. Rose asked a good question in the chat a second ago. I know David gave an answer, but it was, are the advisors located in UC around campus? Advisors are definitely located all around campus. In the University Center, you have Norse Advising and Alps are both in that building, but many, and also Amy Racky and Arts and Sciences has an advising center in UC as well. But like Rebecca and her staff for informatics, they're in Griffin Hall. Alina's team for College of Business is in the College of Business. Anna Stryker is in MEP building. So generally the advisors are located near where the major or the courses would be for that particular area. So they are spread out that way. We do have, there does exist a list of all of advisors on campus. So if your unit or department would like to get that list, certainly feel free to reach out to either myself or to Gannon Tagger. I forgot to mention Gannon. Gannon is now our assistant VP for advising and first year programs. And so she is leading advising efforts on campus at this point in time. So she's a great contact. If there's things that you want to get to all advisors on campus, or if there's information that you wanted to present to advisors on campus, she'll be a really great contact for that.
Okay. Thank you for that information. I will make sure that Dr. Howard is aware of that. Okay, anybody else? All right, well, we're a little early, so you get a half hour of your life back. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.